One of the things that I think that most people who do coffee get into that or problem with is that, what am I going to do with all these coffees? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. Your daily dose of Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host, and today we'll be talking about coffees that are just too small a quantity to do anything with. So what do you do with them, right? So that's kind of the idea. Kent, how are you? Good to see you. Power Plant, good to see you as well. And Craig, good to see you from Ottawa. How things going? Mom, how are you doing as well? So we've got some coffees here today, as you can see. These are just kind of odds and ends. And, you know, as you're making coffee, you get some really nice coffees, and then you kind of get to the point of like, oh, maybe I don't have enough to make a cup. Or they've just been sitting around for a while. And you kind of wonder, what are you going to do with them? And you know what? Here's the thing. I'm here to tell you that it's okay to blend them. It's okay. Yes, these are all single origins. Yes, these are all perfectly fine and beautiful coffees on their own respect, but perhaps you don't have enough. Perhaps they're a little bit older. You can still utilize them. They're still going to be drinkable and maybe very well be very good still. So don't be afraid to experiment and try them out and see what you think. Like, the reason you bought the coffees is because you like them. Well, ostensibly, the reason you bought the coffee is that you like them. So why not continue to use them until they're all gone? And then this gives you a great way, especially if you take the time to think about, like I sometimes I won't think about it. I just, whatever we have, I just mix into a jar and that's it. Here at the roastery, we would call that blend balazzo. And why is it called balazzo? I really don't know. I don't even know I never even looked up the meaning of balazzo. The reason I call it balazzo is because one of my exporters in Costa Rica, they were like, I was like, what is that? What is that big jar of coffee there? Oh, that's what we call, that says balazzo. He's like, well, that's the balazzo is the coffee is the jar where we take all of the coffees after our cuppings that we have left over. We just put them in the jar and then anyone can use it to drink coffee. And so I took that practice to our coffee roastery. And, you know, for many, many years, you'd find a big jar with a piece of tape on it that said balazzo, because everything we had that was left over from, you know, that was really minute quantities. They were just left over from cuppings or from roast profiles or something, or stuff we just didn't want. We just put that in the jar and everybody could drink from that at will. So that's kind of a fun little story behind that. Power Plant says, when I get to the dregs, I just add to the last cup's grinds. I can bypass it. But yeah, there you go. See, that's a great way to go as well. Morning to you, Naomi. How are you doing? Craig says, caffeine is caffeine. Absolutely. So what we're going to do is we've got some coffees here that we've tasted here on the show before, and some are, so we've got, like, this one is from my good friend Simon Ochin in Sippy Falls, the Sippy Specialty Blend in Uganda, Chariot's Coffee. Really a nice, enjoyable coffee. This one came from one of my other good friends, Maiko Miyake, from her Mocha Coffee in Yemen, in Tokyo. This is the Ismaili coffee from Yemen. This one here is a Kona Typica sample that I got from Kona somewhere. I don't remember who, but that's a sample there. This one was a coffee. Oh, another Yemeni coffee. I've got so many Yemeni here. This is the Yemeni Northern Crown. This is actually a really enjoyable coffee. This one came from a tasting we did back in June that we roasted. This particular coffee was sourced by Coffee Bean Corral. And this is very nice. This is very nice. And then this was a gift to me from my friend Mari Portillo, who owns this farm, Finca Fe Gracia, in Honduras. So this is just the leftover. So we're just going to take this and mix it all together. And I need my mixing bowl. So I got my little monkey pod bowl here. You know, we use this all the time. This is actually, we got this from the Philippines at some point in time. You see monkey pod, and they hand carved it. You know, it's kind of fun. I have no idea how much this thing costs, but, you know, we're going to try it here. We're going to see what it's like. Cody's with us. Aloha kalamai. The late night start is usually when, oh, I know. Sorry. I know that now that we changed the time zone again, it makes it even later there for you in Bangkok. But good to see you. Good to see you. Actually, I've been meaning to message you. I have this project that I want to finally complete. Many, many years ago, back in the 1990s, in the mid 90s, when I was with this hula halau called Na'opio Ko'olau, I was making a pahu. And for those who know me are familiar, pahu is the Hawaiian word for drum. You can say pahu drum, but that means you're saying drum, which is a little bit strange. It's really, I guess, considered what's called a pahu hula, which is the term for a drum for accompanying the dance of hula. And so here's the thing. We cut this tree many years ago. Back in the day, we cut this tree, this coconut tree. Somebody cut it. I didn't cut it, but somebody cut it. And they gave me this stump about this high. And I carved out most of it, but it was still green, so it was really difficult to carve. And carved out the part of the base, and I had this idea, which I don't really remember what the idea was. I think there might be still pencil marks on it, but it's really been sitting in a corner for like the last 30 years. And I just saw it the other day, and I was like, now that I'm doing woodworking, I should just finish that thing. So I've been meaning to reach out to you I'll be reaching out to you more about that, but that's one of the things that's been on my mind these last couple of weeks. Craig says, note the ode only likes single. Gosh, it might break today again. Good thing we have it in the backup. Okay, so let's start off here. This Fe y Gracia. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So we've got the Fe y Gracia. This is a coffee from Honduras, or here we say in America, Honduras. And like I said, Mari gave this to me last year, or maybe the year before. We're just been old friends. So she's like, oh, you want some coffee? So Katuwai Rojo, wash red Katuwai from Las Capucas, dark chocolate, tangerine, floral, Finca Fe y Gracia. She named her name is Mari, right? In the Mari Portillo. Finca Fe y Gracia, Fe and Gracia, these are her two daughters. That's why she named the coffee Fe y Gracia. So we're going to take this coffee. It's got a little bit of chaff, lots of chaff. There's some chaff in there. There it is. Put that in there. Now we can throw that bag away finally. We have some Kona Típica. This is Típica. When Kona started, the coffee production in Kona started by importing beans from Guatemala, which is why it's called Típica. And so pretty much the Típica varietal that they use in Hawaii is derived from Guatemala. This is my understanding. I could be totally wrong. And pretty much most of the coffee is grown in Hawaii, not just Kona, but also in Ka'u and perhaps the other regions. But definitely in Ka'u, I'm pretty sure of this. They all kind of use a lot of the Típica varietal. I don't know if it's just because it's shown that it's done well there. Of course, people are experimenting with things like geisha and other varietals, so it's not totally Típica. Okay, let's see how this goes in here. Put that in there. You can see there's a little bit of bean size difference, right? Like the bean sizes are, I always feel like when I bring this closer, it doesn't look so bright. There we go. So you can see on top, like here, the beans from Honduras, the red Katuwai, are a little bit smaller than these Típica beans, right? Roast profile is a little bit different, a little more glossy on, if I can get a bit closer, a little bit more glossy on the Kona, right? Okay, so let's now add the Chariots Sippy Falls blend. I'm leaving tomorrow for Raleigh, North Carolina, so I probably will maybe I'll put this in a bag. Oh, wow, there's a lot in there. Oops. Maybe we will save this one because there's a Yemeni here. Yeah, we'll save this one for another event, and then we'll use the Yemeni Northern Crown. I actually really like this coffee. This was really. There's a part of me that's like, oh, I shouldn't put this in a blend. It would be it's too beautiful, but whatever. It's not like we can't get enough coffee in the world. Okay, add this to here. Oh, we're going to overfill the monkey pod. All right, here we go. Now just toss all of this. What I got to learn is about how to toss everything. Because it's just like sometimes you just want to I might need that bag. But no, you don't need that bag, dude. Okay, so now we're overfilled. We're overfilled. So we're going to have to do a little bit of that back and forth action. Whoops. Actually, better yet, I was just thinking I cleaned out the espresso hopper so we can use this. Gather up those extra grinds. What I really want is just a vessel where I can have some space so we can start to homogenize our blend. So it sounds kind of like roasting. Now, I think there's some kind of formulation that tells you how much you're supposed to stir something or mix something for whatever length of time to get full homogenization, but we're going to use that as our homogenization. Now, like you can see, there's a lot of chaff left over. So I'm just going to try to tap out that chaff. All right, there we go. We've got our blend of coffees. So you can do this yourself. I mean, I know sometimes, you might feel that, oh, I shouldn't do that. I have to respect the bean, respect all this, stuff. And sometimes you just need someone else to tell you, it's all right. You'll be fine. It's like my friend. She was like, her child, her son is, getting older, not older, but like, 5. And wants to go hang out with his friends, like at lunch. It's like, and she's like, oh, he wants to hang out at lunch. I was like, don't worry, Mom, you'll be fine. It'll be okay. That's what it was. She was posting because he was riding the bus. Maybe he's not 5, maybe he's a little bit older, 8. But he took the bus to go see his friend or something like that the other day. And she was like the city bus. And she was like, it was like, oh, poor mom, poor mom. Powerplant says, have you seen the work of Nick Offerman? He has his own studio where he carves canoes out of a single piece of wood. Very impressive. I have not seen the canoe, but I have, seen a couple of videos of Nick showing his woodworking space. And I'll be honest, when I'm new to the fine woodworking aspect of things, and so I never watched Parks and Rec, so I don't really know Nick Offerman that well. So he's not really that familiar to me, like he might be to a lot of you. And I remember but I knew he was an actor, and I don't have any feelings either way against or for Nick. I'm just fairly neutral on it. But I remember when I first saw that he was this actor that they were paying attention, I was like, oh, is he getting the attention from the woodworking publications because he's an actor and just kind of famous? And then I saw a couple of videos and I was like, oh, this guy. And it turns out that Nick did grow up with his father, making woodworking, doing woodworking. And so very much respect to that guy, very much respect to what he does. I really have, what little I have seen of his work, I've been it's very nice to see. I'm like, oh, this guy, he does have the chops. He's serious. He's a serious woodworker. Like he has the respect of a lot of people that I like listen to or pay attention to what they have to say about things. So definitely respect to Nick. Definitely respect to him. Kenny says, yes, message me and let me know what you need. I don't think you know, but I made quite a few pahu. I figured you did. One was used as the Iolani Luahine Perpetual Trophy. Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's awesome. Powerplant says, Offerman is also a B-list celebrity where he is most famous for playing Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec. Yeah, I'm familiar. I'm sure you wrote that before I said anything, but yes, but again, I've just never seen Parks and Rec. I know people love Parks and Rec. I know it's over, but I've never seen it. There's I just never get the time to watch network. I just don't get the time to watch television as much as I would be interested to. I think it's more accurate to say. Naomi says, at the organic market I used to frequent, they sold fresh roasted coffee beans, and consumption was called witch's brew. Oh, there you go. A mixture of whatever beans, medium, light, dark. I never tried, and I mean, I don't know if I would. Oh, I think I would try it depending on where I was. Like, if they were a really good roaster, I'd probably try it. Right? Like, and actually, we ended up taking some of that balazzo, right, at the shop, and we would offer it by the cup for a guest. And I can't remember if we did it for a little bit less or something like that, but it was always something we would offer when we would only hit the menu like maybe like 2 or 3 times a year when we had enough to to use at the shop. You're like, oh, we have some extra. If we have some of this mixed blend coffee, and we tell everybody exactly what it is because there's no need to like try to obfuscate that. But I mean, what I mean by that is that I think that I would be selective about who, where, only because I'd want to, because if you're talking about a nice quality roaster, then they're buying pretty much almost all quality beans, so you're fairly well assured that you're going to have something pleasurable to drink. And if they're offering it at a lower price, then it could be a great way to get into some nice coffee. And you never know what you're going to be in there. Like in our balazzo blend, like sometimes there was, geisha. It's just like, well, we could toss it in there. It's good enough. Power Plant says that sounds perfect for most people. I think so. I make my own witch's brew, says Naomi, with leftovers. That's exactly what we're doing. Witch's brew. Here it is. Consumption is bad. Autocorrect. No, no worries. All right, so let's make some coffee with this coffee, and we'll do both espresso and regular brewed coffee to see, just as a comparison. So first of all, let us start off with some brewed coffee. I gotta plug in our Ode Gen 2. Hopefully Craig is not correct in that it will not like it. Here's my little 3D printed. I'm tickled pink about this. I think I want to print another one. This will hold 100. That's what it says. I want to print a thinner one, I think. Or maybe the thinner one would be too top heavy and fall over, but I'm thinking I'll put a smaller one in the kitchen or something like that. All right, let's get our apparatus. We're not going to use the big scale today. We're going to use our typical Tally Pro Studio Edition, Tally Pro SE Studio Edition, is that right? Okay, let me get this together here. Gosh, I feel like we're out of control sometimes. Oh, here is this. We need that. Okay, got that. Now we need to do our weighing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. Reheat the water. And put this here, zero that out. We're going to use this one. Oops. Oh, look at that. See, you got to be vigilant. Sometimes errant beans will get into the mix. 24.6, that's fine. Now we're going to grind away. We're going to use our speed yesterday was pretty good, right? I think it was all right. Maybe a little bit slow. We do one more click. So now we're right at 5 there, Naomi. Right at 5. Can you see this? Okay. Very nice. Ooh. There's some nice kind of very interesting aromas, like almost like a wine fruit kind of, with like dark chocolate. Interesting. Okay, here's our paper filter. fold this over. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. Like I never fold it on the counter. But today, it's a special day. It's a special day. That's really close. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, now I have to remember we have to set the brew assist, tear it out. Now add the coffee. So we did 24/6. How much here? 24/6. See, this is why I'm always irritated with this grinder getting clogged, because 24/6, now 24/7. Look, there's more coffee than it was before. Oh my gosh, that's craziness. I don't understand it. All right, let's get some water here. Water's at a nice boil. Okay, now we're ready to brew. Hit that button. See, I'm finally starting to get the hang of it after like a year. 50 grams, 50 grams. No, 85 grams. 85 grams for initial. Somewhere 80 something. That's good. I feel like it always starts kind of fast. Like the flow is always kind of fast, but it always slows down because I think what's happening is that the fines will start to clog the filter. So like, you know, we're a little bit faster, 100 grams, 30 seconds. But I do think it will slow down as the fines build into the filter and reduce the flow rate. Or then again, it could be different because these coffees are a lot older than the normal coffee we'll be using. Jody says, my carafe to do drip broke. Oh, my carafe to do drip broke, so I ordered on Temu, ordered on from Temu, and it really looked exactly like the Hario that broke. See, I told you, man, these things are like, and I mean, the weightiness of it is really quite nice. It's got the right tactile feel. If they're a knockoff, instead of just like taking it out of the factory without the labeling, I get the hell of a knockoff. And I don't know how much you paid there for Temu Bangkok, but Temu America, I think it's still like $8. Honestly, I'm not really paying attention to the flow and the time. I'm just kind of like adding water as I feel necessary. I think I'm really much more cavalier about brewing than I used to be. For me, a lot of it now is just kind of like, I feel it, or I don't feel it, or maybe I don't even know what I'm doing. So 212, 215, 260. So you can see that it is slowing down some. It was about $5 or $6 US. Oh, that's nice. Andrew, how are you? Good to see you. Actually, after this live stream, I have to run over to the Micro Center because I need more filament for my 3D printer. This guy I know was just like, you can print this on your printer. I was like, what? I thought it wouldn't fit. He's like, nope, you just need to angle it to the right angle and it will fit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go do that. All right, 358, we're almost there. 327, see how it really has caught up, because of the rate of the flow rate through the filter. Now I'm just gonna pour all the way to 358. There we go. And now that's it, we're done. Now we just wait for it to drop down. And then we will try the coffee. What I need to do also is I forgot that I need to clear out the grinder, meaning that while I took the coffee beans out, I did not flush the group head, which I have to do, or the grinder. Whoops. So many things to plug and unplug. So now it's just about letting it run through. Okay. Whoops. Oh, I have this brush, and the adhesive that it holds the brush to the stem has worn out, and I have a whole workshop filled with woodworking tools to fix this, and I still have yet to do that. Maybe today, or maybe in 2 months. Okay, so that's ready. Here's our coffee. It's all finished now. Let us have a look. Oh, not bad. Let's cover that so we can preserve it for a little bit later. So here's look at that, pretty good. There's a little bit of this, not sharpness and not a dullness, but on the nose, there's something that's like scratchy to my nose. Something that's scratchy that I don't like. There's definitely a pronounced bitterness. Not sure where that's coming from. It starts off with pronounced bitterness, but then quickly transitions with some sweetness underneath it. Now that it's cooler, a little bit cooler than my sipping down, that's becoming much more of a dark chocolate. Dark chocolate and kind of like dried fruit. Maybe like dried cherries. Interesting. Well, there's that. Let's make espresso with it and see what happens. Power Plant says, I do like the drippers that don't need so much attention in the pour style. I agree. I'm okay with not having an amazing cup in favor of ease in use. I'm totally in agreement. Kieran says, did you try the Deep 27 by Cal? Oh, yeah. We've used that a few times. It's just over there. It's just, I just never put this one back. The last time when I pulled it out to use this Kefek, I didn't put it back, so it's just been sitting up here in arm's reach. So every time we do the live stream, it's like, oh, do I need to change? I don't know. We'll change. Let me just make sure we're ready with our camera here. I think we're good now. Okay, so let's look here. There we are, camera. And we're gonna put you can't see that, can you? Go back to this. We're going to put our coffee in. We're going to put just one. I'm going to use the same monkey pod of coffee that we use for this. That way, in case there may be any kind of aberrations between the two, it'll be minimalized. And you can see here, it didn't really fill the hopper very much, right? But it is in there. So now we're going to start to grind. And you can see it coming out. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, that's good. Oh, I guess you couldn't see anything. Well, there it is. That's the magic of television. Where's the? Oh, did you try the? Oh, he's asking Power Plant. Sorry, that's my thing. Yeah, but that's older. I had a month before liberating from my ownership. I got it. You missed my comment about after Kirish. Oh, okay. I did. I missed a lot of comments. All right, so here we go. Let's go and make our coffee. As always, you want to make sure you clean your basket out nice and clean. We're going to flush the group head just to make sure it runs clean, as well as to see how it's a little, you can hear this. We want to get through a little bit of that. There we go. It's settling now. Okay, good. I did not measure. Well, that's all right. So as you can see, lower here this time. Usually it's lower on this side. So we're going to push it over. I'm going to come up this way, then come back, come around, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, this is probably too much, right? So we're going to go back here, get rid of that. There's a little bit on the wings, get rid of that, back here on the stem, and then that's it. And then we should be pretty good as far as quantity. Yeah, that should be good. Oh, that's always the worst. There we go again. Oh, you know what? Now we have the opportunity to come back here. These are the coffee gods telling you that you need to like do your proper 581.7. Here we go again. Here we go again. Now we're going to run out of coffee. Okay, as you can see here, high mound, so a little bit of boulders, lower here, right? So we're just going to come around. See, remember this time it came here, the valley's here. Last time the valley was there, so it's always different. Now I'm sweeping around. This time I swept around to just bring it all in. We got a lot of them come back this way, come back this way, come back. There's a little bit of a divot right there. So I want to come in and try to catch that as much as I can. Good. Now we've got a lot. Now this is a lot of coffee left over, so I'm really going to get rid of a lot of it, just kind of that much. And now it's flatter. So let's go and see how much. 19.5. Oh, that was a little bit too much. See, that was a little bit too much. Let's come back and do that. 21.1. That's good. So now I just did a little click of that, and now we added it here. So I just want to now see it's how it's not distributed. So I'm going to actually just kind of brush that around. Just really light passes over it, just to try to incorporate it and even it out across the bed, right, like that. Now a little bit of compression, make sure that it's all nice and level. Also getting a little bit ginger with that one. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Brew time. One more flushing. Flushing for me really is just kind of habitual now. It's like, oh yeah. Here's the problem with that. Look at that. Oh no. Oh no. We can stop now. Look at that. That does not look pleasurable. Huh? That's not very, gosh, look at that thing. This is what happens when you have older coffees. It gets a lot more difficult to get crema out of it. We could like try to literally tamp down on it. But perhaps the best thing is that this, instead, typically like, let's say we have a little bit of coffee because these are all little bits of coffee. So we're putting a bunch of bits, we're putting a lot of little bits of coffee together to make a small little bit of coffee. What you don't want to do is be chasing that, that grind setting, frustrating yourself when you only have a little bit of coffee. So, well, let's see. There's a bit of a, not brightness, but definitely a tanginess to it. It's not terrible, but it's more like heavily brewed coffee than espresso. Definitely thicker, somewhat viscous. But I think that the illustration, what this kind of better illustrates is that it is probably a better use of your time and energy when you're using little bits of coffee to make it brewed rather than try to chase espresso. Look at that. Like it's pretty much just coffee. Kiona says, Café also has a sexagonal dripper. Interesting design. Sexagonal. The first unconventional dripper was 45 degrees or something like that. Oh, that's interesting. I had one for a bit, but did you not like it? Or M0 Zuthus, good morning to you, man. How are you doing today? Ken says, great first day at the post-op rehab center. Okay, good. UPS came by to deliver my coffee order from German roaster Lechtfeuer. Sorry. I'm lured to say Führer, but that can't be right. I bought my one, before Power Plant gets all like irritated again, I bought my Easy Presso, Easy Presso Q2 grinder and AeroPress. Good morning to you, Coffee Cove. How are you doing? So here we are. We've got more coffee. Yeah, Lechtfeuer. I need to practice more German. So there's our two coffees. Let's see. We're trying to let the espresso cool down. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it's not what we think. I mean, maybe it's what we think about espresso. Like it's thicker, it's got good body. It just doesn't have the crema, right? And wasn't there a video that I think someone was telling me there was a video about Hoffman was talking about how crema is bad or you should remove the crema or something, removing crema. Well, this is it. No crema on your espresso, just concentrated brew. And this one did run fast though. Like this was pretty fast. Like I would want it to be slower. But let's see about the puck. Let's have a look at the puck here. So the puck, good compaction, right? Look at you can see the impression. And good, yeah, like compaction is good, resistance is good there. Clean. So we stopped it at the right moment. The cookie is all very dry and still very, okay. So it looks like we did everything that we would want to do when making espresso. It's just that maybe the coffee is just too old to develop crema. So, I don't know, you can decide now for yourself what you'd like to do. In this case, like if you want to use, this kind of thing for your, so making the espresso, it's a little bit off-putting. Like you see it come out, it doesn't come out with that little fine like stream. It came out kind of fast and a little bit thick and just fast and filled fast. So it's fast. It's a fast shot. So you're like, I don't know about that. Then there's no crema, so you're like, or very little crema, and that dissipates really quickly. So you're like, But as a concentrated coffee drink, now that we're over the initial horror, and I say horror because, I think a lot of, my reaction was predicated on my personal expectations, right? Like we have our own theories on what our espresso should be or what espresso should be like and what we expect. And if it doesn't conform to that, our initial reaction is always going to be negative, like apprehension, suspicion. And I think was part what fuels my initial reaction to this. But now, if we're tasting it as it gets cooler, it's not bad. It's not Like if I had made, and we did, I'm not gonna say I had, we did make it. We did make this and we made it and put it in an espresso machine and came up with a result. I'm drinking it. It's not terrible. I don't want to seek this out. Like I'm not thinking I would, at this moment, I'm not like, oh, I hope tomorrow I can reproduce the same. No, not at all. But if I made this like now, I can find joy in drinking it because it's different than this one. This is lighter, less body, just because it's, that without the concentration. It's not bad. I wonder, and part of this is also going to be like, oh, you're mixing it all together. And and the componentry, right? You know what you've done, you know what you put in it. So I wonder, like, if I come back tomorrow and not really thought about what's in it and just drank it as a coffee, would the joy and exploration of the coffee be different? Maybe I'll bring this with me on this weekend and try it. I've been meaning to try out this AeroPress device. It's not a device for the AeroPress. It's a device for the AeroPress, but it's only to hold the filters. Like I bought one of those AeroPress Go's many years ago, and the AeroPress Go comes with this tiny little wallet thingy, and it sucks. Like it's just like it's like a clamshell thing. It's supposed to snap close, but it never has snapped. Never, even when it was new, did it ever close. And I was like, this is just irritating. So I found this one that's like a screw top. I was like, maybe I'll take that on my road trip and see how it goes. Powerplant says, just happy when you remember. See? I try to remember things. I try to learn as much as I possibly can. Coffee Go says, well, you have grinds around the edges after knocking. Okay, hold on. Let me. Sometimes I start to read and I'm not really reading. I'm just kind of like reciting the words and I'm not even comprehending what I'm saying. When you have the grinds around the edges after knocking off the puck and it's pretty wet, was the shot too long, short grinds too fine? Oh, okay. Grinds around the edges after knocking out the puck. So when you're asking that, so we've knocked out the puck. When you say grinds around the edges, do you mean like on the rim of the basket or here on the inside of the basket? There's just stuff sticking around. When you have grinds around the edges after knocking out the puck and it's pretty wet, was the shot too long? Grinds inside. Okay, inside. So I think that it could be a combination of things. So I want to have, so as you can see, we use 21 grams in this basket. This is a larger basket from VST. The regular baskets, let's see if I can find one here. I know we have one. Here we are. This is more of a regular double shot basket. And as you can see here, make way. You can see here that there is a big difference in size. Well, somewhat a big difference in size. Well, there is a big difference in size. I mean, depth is not necessarily that different, but see this, see how it narrows here? This VST does not narrow. So this VST basket will, and you can see that here as well, this VST basket will hold more quantity of coffee. And so I think that perhaps what's happening in your, and I don't know what kind of basket you use, but that could play a role. And so if you're using, let's say 18 grams in a basket like this versus 18 grams in a basket like this, the 18 grams will have more space to maneuver, to expand, to move in this basket than it will in this. And so I like to capture the coffee as much as possible. So my ideal is that, when we place the portafilter into it, the coffee is filled up enough in here that basically it's kind of impacting on imagine this is the dispersion screen inside the group head, that it's kind of compacting against the dispersion screen, right? So let's say this is on the inside of the rim of the rim of this. It's really close. It's really pushing up against it. So when the water hits it, right? Coffee, when it gets wet, expands, right? So the expansion of the coffee. So even though there may be, and sometimes there may even be just a little bit of a gap, right? But typically when I'm inserting, like especially like last week or the last few weeks, and I'm really cranking in there because really I was putting 24 to 26 grams in here. So it's really impacting itself. The coffee itself is impacting upon the dispersion screen and just smushing itself into up against it. So when the water hits it and the expansion occurs, it really has nowhere to go. And I think that when you have these rims of coffee on the inside of your basket after you've knocked it out is perhaps an indication that you have a little bit of a gap between the top of the puck and your dispersion screen. So is that a problem? I don't know. The question really is that a problem? Meaning that how does the coffee taste? And at the end of the day, this is where I always go back to when we're talking about coffee evaluation. And, there's many ways of evaluating coffee. There's many ways of like going out there and measuring coffee. But to me, like those are cool, right? Those are great. At the end of the day, I don't care. Like I don't care about any of those things. Those are tools that help us. But really what I want to know is, what does it taste like? Does it taste great to the person that's going to be drinking it? And in this case, you're the person drinking it. So how does it taste to you? And if you find that it's off, maybe that's when you want to consider taking a change to it, right? So I don't necessarily think that you need to necessarily worry about having a little bit of residue. I don't think. Let's see. Let me look around again. Inside, not around the rim. Okay, gotcha. Mine is an 18-gram basket, straight basket, IMS. I think bottomless. You mean the portafilter is bottomless, right? Not the basket. That would be impressive, at the very least. It'd be impressive. It'd be very impressive. Was a bit sour. Okay, so if it was a bit. So here's some things to consider, right? If I'm making espresso and I feel that it's tasting a bit sour, to me that is the coffee communicating that maybe it's running too fast. So I want to retard the flow. I want to slow that flow down to get more extraction. Typically, under extraction is accompanied with sour notes. And how do we tell? Like, how do I tell this? Is that I'm going to look at. Like I said, I like to see the compact. I like to see it compacted, like I just showed you here today, like in this shot, nice and tight and relatively clean, and then clean here at the bottom of the basket, because to me the basket will show me that, oh, was the shot within the ideal extraction parameters? Meaning that if I see oils, it's an if I see any amount of oil, like a light amount of oil to the heavy oil, it's going to tell me that I'm either a little bit or a lot over or under extracted. And how you know the difference between the two is you have to be paying attention to the whole process, right? So if your shot ran quickly, like today, this shot here ran what I thought was fairly quickly. So I would expect to see residual oils based on when we stopped. And if we did, then I would know that it was under extracted. But if we ran it longer and I was uncomfortable with how long it was running and we stopped and there were oils, it would indicate that we were past the point. So remember in other streams we've talked about making espresso and how the stream comes down, right? So ideally it starts slow and like thin and like just kind of like, and it flows and it flows and it flows and it slowly starts to go a little bit faster and it flows and it flows and it flows. And at some point, there's going to be this flutter. You're going to see the stream flutter, just like that. And when you look down into the cup, onto the crema, if you wait a few more moments, you'll see that there are now blondings starting to form because of that fluttering. That flutter is the indication from the coffee that it's done. It's like I've given you. I'm giving. That's everything, right? just made me think of an allegory that I probably shouldn't talk about on a family-oriented live stream. But yes, that is when you should stop, right? Or, you could keep going, but not much good can happen after that point. So, but that's kind of what I look for. I look for that wavering, which to me indicates that the coffee is telling me that it's done. Now, this is why I talk about other things. Like, we talk about weights, we talk about time, we talk about volume, and ideally you want to try to cultivate, you want to try to manipulate all of those things so that happens within those parameters, right? So with my espresso for Spro, it's like we want 25 to 30 seconds. We want 1.5 to 2 ounces of volume, and we want that, what other parameters am I talking? Yeah, 1.5 to 2 ounces, 25 to 30 seconds. And we want that to happen in that range. Oh, and also we want it to be 21 grams. So now it's so if we can manage to get the same consistent amount of coffee each time, and even distribution, so that the resistance against the flow of the water is even, and everything else is consistent, like all of the way our mechanics to make that. Now we only need to try to figure out where the grind needs to be to offer that resistance to the coffee, so that by the time that it actually will be 25 to 30 seconds, 1.5 to 2 ounces, and then you're pretty much golden, right? That's kind of that's to me where the manipulation happens. And that's true even if you're using parameters. So they say a lot of people like to use 18 grams in, 36 grams out, or whatever the number out. You want that, and a lot of people just watch the scale, right? They're like, okay, 36, it must be there, done. To me, it's like I would want that 36. I want to be at 36, right? That's my thought. Let's see here. Mine's ice cream straight basket. It was a bit sour. That's it. I think it did run a bit fast. I stopped pulling shots, waiting to. My cursor's in the way. I just stopped pulling shots, waiting too much, dialing in. Yeah, and you can easily fall into a rabbit hole of dialing in and just be like, you're like, oh gosh, I need to adjust, shot, adjust, shot, adjust, shot, adjust. The difficult part of the barista craft is that you can do one of the things that we always, and this is why training at Spro is always very intensive, is that there's so many things happening when you're trying to make espresso, right? You need to dose the right amount. You need to distribute correctly. You need to, temp evenly and the same. And so when you're tamping, you want to make sure you're tamping in a consistent manner that's also not misaligning or making unlevel your puck as you're tamping, because that can, unless you get the mechanics right, that can easily happen. It still happens to me every once in a while if I get a little bit lazy. And then, not only that, but now, at least from my perspective, I will always want to train baristas so that they're tamping and tamping level, but now we also have to work in proper ergonomics so that they don't have repetitive stress disorders in the future. As of yet, I don't believe any of my baristas have had repetitive stress disorders, so I'm very pleased to hear that, or to think in that. So these are all different factors that are happening. And then, you've got, presumably, and this is with presuming your machine maintains consistency, meaning that it's able to deliver consistent temperature, it's able to deliver consistent pressure, right? And those are other factors that could be in flux. Hopefully they're not. Like, those are much harder to correct on the fly than anything else. But, I would say, just look at that and see, and pay attention. Like, if you're getting soupiness, like, you've seen the pucks we pull here, and they're always pretty dry, pretty clean, pretty straight. If you start to see like moonscaping and like it's soft and wet, then I think there's a little bit too much space between the top of your puck and the bottom of the dispersion screen. So you just want to find a way to seize that up, right? So maybe a tighter basket might be better. So if you're using a triple shot basket with 18 grams, maybe try a double shot basket with the same 18 grams so that you give it less room for expansion. I think the more room for expansion just means that, this is now theory. Now this is total like conjecture and just theorizing with no real basis. But I think that when the coffee, and I've kind of seen this like in results in the past, when the coffee has space from the top of the puck to the bottom of the dispersion screen, the water hits it and it expands. But I think that there's a greater chance during that expansion for the water to exploit any kind of defect in your distribution so that it will run. Water always finds the path of least resistance. So it'll run through, and if you haven't done a great job at distribution, then it'll find that pathway and just flush through it. And then you get your sour notes. That could be another thing. And since it's raising part of that bed, like I've seen pucks that had like splits in them crosswise. So and you could see that when you press down on it, it would actually collapse a little bit. You're like, why is that happening? I didn't actually think about that till just now. I stopped pulling shots, wasting too much. Yeah. It takes it, and I think that I think also that one thing to consider is that with espresso at home, you only have a limited amount. Like you're just going to the store or the shop and you're buying like a bag, and like this bag is 12 ounces. Like 12 ounces is 340 grams. You may have, 12, 15 shots out of this? Like, that's not a lot. I could easily burn through 15 shots just trying to dial in. And you see baristas in the professional world that are burning through more shots, dialing in for their 15 or 20 minutes that they start each shift. They're like, I got to dial my shots in. And I don't know. I think at this point in my career, I'm like, well, do you really need that much time to dial in? Like, is your stuff not up to scratch or not set enough that you can't just like work on the fly? Meaning that I tend to like work, like maybe I'll come in and pull a shot to see how it is and where it is and maybe make an adjustment. But I don't need to sit there for 10, 15 minutes trying to adjust. And I'm saying that now because we're using the same, at least at Spro, we would use relatively the same consistent coffee. Similar blends, similar components, similar roast profiles, but relatively the same espresso. So there's a lot of consistency going there. So when you make changes in batches, it's changes to batches rather than total changes in coffee. But if you make total changes in coffee, you might need to make some adjustment. And I would consider when you get your espresso or whatever coffee you're going to make for espresso, you've already got the grinder set up. Like you've been doing this for a while. So your grinder already is pretty close to where you might want to be. So pull a shot, taste it. And, in order to save, if you want to conserve, pull the shot and enjoy it. I'm sure it's going to be pretty good. And just make a mental note for the next time that you make an espresso, maybe the next day, or maybe that afternoon, or maybe an hour later. Then make your mental note and say, okay, I'm going to try adjusting it. So make an adjustment, pull a shot. Oh, I like it. I don't like it. Either way, don't make a change again. Pull another shot whenever, day later, that afternoon, and see how it goes. One thing is that when you make changes to your grinder, it takes a couple shots for it really to settle in, I think. Especially if you have something like this. Perhaps not so much if you have like the Ode that's supposed to be zero retention. I like to give it a couple shots to settle in, to see, okay, do I really need to make a change? Am I really unhappy with this? Or can I improve it in any way? And if you do that, you only have 12 ounces. So if you do that over time, you're still having enjoyable coffee. But you're not necessarily like burning through your coffee unnecessarily. So, but if you don't mind burning through your coffee, you certainly can do that. I don't want to discourage you from doing that. And if you do like to burn through your coffee, buy my coffee, throwcoffee.com. M0 says, let's talk about life, baby. That's a good one. Coffee Cove says, I got the basic prep down. Awesome. I mean, I don't doubt it. I think pretty much everyone here is pretty far advanced in your coffee journey here. So Proplan says, AliExpress puck press solves it as well. Oh, yes, the puck press. I like the puck. Am I thinking of the puck press? Puck press is the one that is that right? The one, I don't know why I have a brain fart on this, but yeah, I love that. Like I do recommend that to clients now. It's like you just put it underneath your Malkonig and you just kind of stick it in. And so you put the coffee in, and then into the espresso machine. A lot of operators don't necessarily want to do the expense. I think it's like $700 now for the puck press. So there's a part of me that if I was to do another cafe again, I would want to use that. Like part of me wants to like eliminate a lot of the training, right? Just eliminate it all. Maybe just go to like Eversys and just be done with it. Just be like, just press the button. You'll be fine. Powerplan says, watched Song Sung Blue yesterday. Great film about Hugh Jackman as Neil Diamond impersonator and his wife played by Kate Hudson. Oh, I like that. I was a little bit disappointed when he was in Les Miserables. Actually, I hated Les Miserables, the movie. Just hated it. Hated it. I just don't feel. I just like anyway. Let's. Although Anne Hathaway, awesome. Fantine, Anne Hathaway's Fantine, amazing. I was totally like, oh, she's awesome. Everybody else sucked. Totally did not enjoy. And I'm maybe a little bit more, sensitive to Les Miserables because I watched it on Broadway. Like I remember when it came out, and I was like, oh, it was one of my favorite Broadway shows. I was like, I've seen it many times. I was like, oh, love it. But these Hollywood adaptations, like I wish they would like get singers. And I think that, Jackman is probably pretty good. But man, everybody else was just, oh gosh. Yeah. Well, the only person that stood out for me in Les Miserables was Hathaway. I was like, she's awesome. Very fruity, dry fruity. But I might have to check this Song Sung Blue. Da-da-da-da-da. That's all I know. Da-da-da-da-da. Jose says, coarse grind, long ratio, or fine grind, short ratio. I'm not sure what you mean by, I'm not sure what the terminology means, long ratio versus short ratio. So you'll have to tell me a little bit more about that because here's where I'm probably going to be a little bit different than a lot of other people, is that my position on the field of coffee making beliefs. Let's put it that way. My position in the field of coffee making beliefs is born out of experience working in the professional side of things. I don't really know. I honestly don't really know too much about what happens in the enthusiast world. Like those of you who watch a lot of like coffee YouTube and are exposed to a lot of the theories in modern coffee YouTubing, I'm not necessarily following those things, to be honest with you. Like, I don't really know. Like, I learned a lot of it from all of you. So you have to tell me a little bit more about this ratio thing. I'm really spending my time listening about dovetailing and other woodworking things when I'm like not doing coffee. So even when I'm roasting coffee, I'm typically listening to the Fine Woodworking podcast. But coarse grind, long ratio, or fine grind, short ratio. So without yet knowing what that really means, to me, it's really about finding a balance between grind and, so it's really about finding that balance between all the different factors. So there's the grind, right? The grind size, and and in my case, we decided on a particular quantity of coffee that we want to use. And in your case at home, you can choose. The nice thing is that the standards are arbitrary, meaning that you can choose whatever you want, whatever you like. In my experience of working with coffee, I like the 21 gram position. It's what I was taught by my mentor, and I really have believed in it, and I think that that's the way to go. But I also realize that as an operator, especially as an operator, you're using 21 grams versus At the time when I started, the standard double shot was 14 grams. So you're using another whole shot's worth of coffee, which means that in a professional sense, your cost of operation is dramatically increased versus your competitor that's using 14 grams. So you have to account for that, at least in the professional sense. And even in the home sense, if the more coffee you use, the less yield you're going to get out of your bag. So to me, there's that. So you can choose whatever stand you want. So a lot of people seem in modern times to choose 18 grams. 18 grams, and a lot of people are saying they want 36 grams out by weight, and maybe 40 by weight, depending on whatever your standard is. To me, it's really about, trying to manipulate the different factors to meet the goal. And the goal is a delicious cup of coffee. And that's really the only... This is what the only parameter that matters, right? Like I have a VST, TDS meter. I got all the tools to do all that stuff, roast profile analysis stuff, which is cool. And sometimes you may need it, but honestly, it's like, why do I even need it? And I always told my staff, I was like, you know what? The day that somebody walk in with a TDS meter and TDS is our coffee, I'm going to kick them the hell out of here. Because it's like, this is not the joy of coffee is this, the flavor, right? And I think that sometimes when you're so into it that you kind of so into the technical aspects of it that you might lose track of the fact that we're really just trying to enjoy coffee. Like it may not be perfect every time you make coffee, and that's okay. Like in the professional world, when I started, especially in the early 2000s, the whole thing was like, what about the God shot? What about the God shot? And this is true both in the professional barista ranks as well as the home enthusiast ranks back then, was that the God shot, the God shot, the God shot. Who has the God shot? Have you had the God shot? And certainly I've had the God shot a couple times. I've had amazing espresso at times. But most of the espresso is not God shot level. Most coffee is not to that crazy level. And that's all right. It's still very enjoyable. And it's still a lot better, significantly better than what you can get at a lot of places and what you can get at your friends' houses. Like, God knows I don't drink coffee at my friends' houses. And they know this. They're like, oh, do you want coffee? No, thank you. I'll have my Diet Coke. Powerplant says, AliExpress has auto tempers for $200 to $300. Well, that's not bad. That's a good deal. Has settings for temping pressure and how many presses. Oh, how many presses? How many? Oh, how many? So it'll do multiple. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to look that up. But again, I don't want to encourage you to buy those things, right? Like $200 to $300, you could buy great coffee for $200 to $300, and you could buy quite a bit of coffee. And that coffee will give you more coffee to practice your technique of tamping, right? And it's really not that difficult. It's just a little bit of time to tamp. Maybe we'll do a show where we talk about tamping and technique to practice with. Keone says, if it tastes good and you enjoy it, that's the most. Yeah, I totally agree. That's really my number one thing. Like to me, coffee is pleasurable hedonism. It's just for you to enjoy. As long as you enjoy it, that's great. But I do realize that part of the joy for people can be the process. And that's also a great thing too. Like learning about the tools, learning about the technology, learning about and tinkering with all of that is really quite exciting. And I get that because, in the woodworking side of things, I very much doing that kind of craziness. So I totally get it. Powerplant said to one time on the show, he was like, you don't seem very enthusiastic about coffee. And like I said, Dan was like, I've been thinking about it more. I thought about it a lot. And I even tell this to like friends in the business. I was like, one of our viewers, he was like, you don't seem to be very enthusiastic about coffee. I said, well, I've just been doing it a long time, right? Like this whole idea of like obsessing about the different tools. Like I went through that. I was totally that guy, like but it was many years ago. So it's like, now I've been in it and for a while you're like, oh. It's like you're the old dude. You're like, I'm now the guy that I used to be like, oh, that guy, he's old timer, he's old school, doesn't know what he's doing anymore. He's lost step with the world. Perhaps I have. Jose says, Puck is overkill for the home user, in my opinion. Calibrated temper for $30 does the job. Agreed. But I also agree with the idea that, if you're someone that wants to have that, I can't say that you shouldn't have it. Like, you don't necessarily need it, but like my friends have things like Weber grinders in their homes. They've got big commercial espresso machines. Some of them also are like tertiary into the business, so that's part of the reason why they have that. But I mean, if you're willing to buy, like one of my friends called me a few years ago, he's like, hey man, he was getting into espresso. He's like, what do you think about the GS3? I was like, awesome machine. You'll never need another machine. Okay, I'm going to buy it. Okay. Calls me a month later. He's like, hey man, what about the Chiado? Is that a good grinder? I want to get a Chiado. And I was like, Chiado? They have good grinders. Can you get me one? I was like, sure. So I called up Chiado. I was like, hey man, I need a grinder. They sent me a grinder. We sent it off to him. He bought it. And he was like, what do you think about the Chiado? I said, dude, if you buy this Chiado, you will never need a grinder until you're dead. He's younger than me. I was like, you will never need a grinder until you're dead. You will be dead before this grinder dies. He's like, okay, good. And I was like, I don't know if he's going to last that long. Meaning that less than a year later, he's like, I think he was like, oh, what do you think about Malconi? I was like, really? You're going to buy another grinder? Are you crazy, dude? Now, my friend, he's buying GS3s. He's buying like Chiados that they're like $3,000. He's of a position where he's not necessarily worried, or he doesn't need to be worried so much financially about making these kind of investments. So I get it, but I'm just like, and a lot of people that I know that buy like higher-end equipment, they've got the money to do it. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you want to spend the money, but if you don't have that kind of resources, then I definitely don't want you to spend that kind of money. Like, okay, don't spend the money. There's definitely ways to achieve awesome results with coffee without ever spending any of that kind of money, right? Like that's part of the reason why I don't really buy newer equipment, because I want to illustrate that you don't necessarily need high-tech new equipment to make nice coffee in 2026, right? Boo says with us, what's going on, man? May come in handy for people with wrist problems. Oh, no doubt. Like if you're already in like stages of carpal tunnel, you definitely want to use something to alleviate that. Like, most of my baristas were in their 20s, so they're just starting out. They're physically like incredible fit, so they're not going to worry. I don't have to necessarily deal with that. But like my concern was always like, yeah, they're in their 20s, yeah, they can handle it. But I don't want them to be in their 40s and have issues, right? So but if you already are in 30s, 40s, whatever, and you're like, oh, my wrist hurts and I don't know if I should be doing that. Yeah, then definitely getting these tamping aids is an excellent way to go and very advisable, very much advisable. Power Plant says, whenever you talk about woodworking, because, like I said, that's because that's what I'm into right now, right? Like it's what I like obsess about. Like while you obsess about the coffee and like, you may be obsessing about whatever coffee gear, I'm sitting equally here obsessing about woodworking equipment. I'm like, oh, do I need that? I need that. I do need that. I must go buy it. It's like, huh? I think Mim0 says, I think if people need to admit that they want to get out of the house and have a coffee, it's like a marriage. You want to get out and be around other people, comfort of community, but security. And that to me is like, okay, this is a good correlation to what Power Plant says. What I also enjoy about the woodworking thing too is that there is a local woodworking shop. And I enjoy going there, not just to pick up whatever little trinket that I need to get that day, but I also enjoy going there to talk to people that have that interest, to share that discussion, right? I feel that way about YouTube as well. So like there was a period before I got into woodworking that was like, try to find community in the YouTubing world. And I know most of the YouTubers that I'm friends with live in other parts of the world. Much like in coffee, they all live elsewhere. Like there's at least nowadays, I have people that I can go hang out with here in my city if I want to talk coffee. But for the longest time, there was nobody in Baltimore. And I had to, that's why I built a lot of friendships with people around the world that are in coffee, because they were the only people you could share with that interest and passion. But But I agree, M0. I like the community of different pursuits that you want to be amongst people that share that enthusiasm and can talk about it, and and interested to talk about it, or interested to share their knowledge on a subject, right? Like, I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. What I don't like is, you go to the forums and like there's always people that are starting out, and maybe this is part because I've been in crafts for quite a long time, but. And I think this is going to be true in coffee forums. It's definitely true in woodworking forums, and any forum that you go to that are populated by a assortment of people. There are people that come in and they're like completely green. They may ask like the most what you who has been in the craft in the field for like maybe only 2 months, but maybe 20 years. They're going to ask a question that to you seems super elemental and dumb. And there's always those people that are always more than willing to share the fact that they think you're dumb. And I'm like, I'm now at the point where if I'm participating in a forum, I'm just like, you know what? Why? I just will comment to them. I'll just be straight up, be like, oh, see that the jerk-offs have entered the room. It's like, why do you need to be a jerk-off to someone that doesn't know as much as you do, right? Share your knowledge. And I think that's important to share your knowledge with other people. I don't know why I'm going on that whole thing. Power plant says, oh, the auto tampers. Oh, it's running away. It's running away from me. The auto tampers are very cool. And if it's within your budget, they are nice to have. They do take up a lot of counter space though. Although, it may not, certainly if you got the old puck press, it took up space next to your grinder. But now they have the newer ones that are designed for the Mahlkönig E30 that stacks on underneath the E30. So you can just be like, cook, and then cook, and then into your espresso machine. So they're designed for that one round Mahlkönig, but you can probably buy it and stack any grinder on top of it and just save some counter space. So, but I think those are like $700, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much they are. I haven't priced them in a long time. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but turns out the X54 from Mahlkönig is no longer available in the United States because of tariffs. Just made it so expensive that the distributor in Carolina decided not to import them anymore because it's like, well, there's no more advantage. Now you might as well buy the X64, or the bigger one, the E64, 65. And Power Plant says to Jose that you can look at the Cafe Latte robot. Ooh. Jose says, I know a lot of people love the Flair 58. Just curious what other options are out there. Like I don't know if you were here for the one stream, the couple streams I've talked about this, but one of the very best espressos I've ever was made in a Flair 58, and I was totally like, "What? This is a Flair 58?" And I've used a Flair 58 a couple of times because Matt has one, and they're really surprisingly good. Like they will get the proper pressure, and to me, that's the whole key with like making any kind of espresso is that you want to get to that 8.5 to 9 bars of pressure when you're brewing it. Otherwise, it's just coffee, just brewed coffee, maybe with a little more pressure. Like the AeroPress, when Alan Adler came out with it in 2005, he kind of called it an espresso maker, and it's not an espresso maker because it only has like maybe 1 bar of atmospheric pressure or 2 bars, maybe at the most. It doesn't really pressurize your coffee enough. So as long as your brewer can hit that pressure, you should be good. So that's the Flair is a good one, but I know it's like $500-600. The one that's like looks like a stacked like stainless steel turned thing that looks all kind of like almost steampunky. I think I've had brews on that, and that's been pretty good. But I think that's also similar in price. Power Plant says the Cafe Latte robot is really well made and has lots of followers. And Jose would like to add temperature control. This is your temperature control, my friend. When you're using the Flair 58, this is your temperature control. But I would, for the Flair 58, like, because it's steel, right? It's stainless steel, and it's exposed group head. So I would, if I was using the Flair 58, and the times we have, I would boil the water and go straight from the boil, like, I wouldn't even turn the flame off, just pour it straight into it and then press. Because that coming into atmosphere in the fall and then hitting the whatever metal even though you preheated the metal, it's going to like drop that temperature pretty much probably down to right around 200 degrees. So you'll be just right at the right point of temperature when you start to brew on the Flair 58. So this is total conjecture now. I'm just total hypothesizing on that. Powerplant says the 9 Barista. I think that's the one that I was talking about, the steampunky looking one. 9 Barista is also a good option, but completely different method. Keone says the one thing that Flair has over most other manual levers is that they have the heated chamber. Oh, that's right. You can plug that in. I forgot about that. I have had one ever since it was introduced, and very happy with it. Like I said, it does have very nice results, and you can get very nice results. I was surprised about that. Jose says, I love the Bruta mod with the robot. Oh, I'm not familiar with that, but I wonder why there aren't more mods for those. Booster says he swears by his Flair 58. And you got a Flair off of Craigslist for $175. Oh, I haven't thought about that. I should start looking in Facebook Marketplace. That's one that I would be interested to perhaps have. What I like about the Flair 58, and probably this is true for the other ones, like the 9 Barista. I don't know much about. I've only had like shots pulled for me on the 9 Barista. I've never made shots on it. But this ties back to what we talked about yesterday. Was I like the water aspect. So the idea of using the Flair 58 and different water sources or water chemistries to compare coffee, to compare their effects on coffee, to me is a fascinating thing to do. Jose says, I'm convinced that a manual lever is just a lemon juicer for coffee. It is, you know. I prefer the one from, what's it called, Rashad? Hand lever is the OG. It is the OG. It is the OG from Becerra many, many years ago. I think it was Becerra was the first one that made espresso. Was it Becerra? I think so. Becerra was the first one. All right. Oh my, it's 11:24. I got to run to get some more filament for my 3D printer. So good to see all of you. We will probably almost certainly not have a live stream tomorrow on Friday because I have to make my drive to Raleigh, North Carolina. Looks like there's not going to be snow, which is great. So I can leave on time and not be delayed. I have a birthday party to attend on Saturday. So there's a whole weekend of events. Like Friday night, there's an event. Saturday is a big event. Sunday, there's another brunch. It's like, oh, this is good. I like this. My gosh, I can't wait to go. So good to see all of you. M0, good to see you as well. Andrew, ciao to you. Naomi, good to see all of you as well. You too. So hope you have a great one. And see you next time. Thank you, Keone. I appreciate that. And Busa.